Hey everyone, welcome to this store feedback session presented by Referral Candy and ShopaFree. It's a pleasure for me to be here with all of you. We're going to be reviewing e-commerce stores that you have submitted. Actually, we have received a bunch of submissions, so we had to pick about 11 stores that we're going to review today, that we're going to kind of highlight what are the best things about those stores, what are the things that you can look at as an e-commerce store owner to improve your e-commerce store and obviously to improve your conversions. So even if your store it's not in the final list that we randomly selected to be part of this session, there's still a lot to learn because you can always learn from the examples of other e-commerce store owners. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Raul. I'm the partner manager here at Referral Candy, and with me today it's Mike, who's the founder and CEO of ShopaFree. Mike will explain a little bit more about what ShopaFree does, but they are a Shopify expert agency, and they have worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of e-commerce stores. So Mike has seen a lot of different e-commerce businesses. He knows what can make an e-commerce business succeed. So there's a lot of feedback. There's a lot of learnings to extract from Mike today. So the first thing I want to do is to thank him, thank you, Mike, for being here today. It's a pleasure to have you on board. We'd love if you could tell us more about you and about ShopaFree, so the rest of the audience can learn more.
Sounds good. Hi, Ro. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be going through the whole webinar here with you and hopefully helping out as many merchants as we can. So a little bit about ShopaFree. We build Shopify sites for free based on the Shopify Partner Commission. And what that is, for merchants that aren't aware, is that Shopify pays a monthly commission to Shopify experts that set up Shopify stores. And that's based solely on what you pay Shopify. So it's got nothing to do with your sales. You could sell $1 million or $1 and it wouldn't make a difference. It's just based on the Shopify plan itself. We're a pretty unique Shopify expert in that respect. I believe now there are some copycats out there, but we started in 2016 and have spun up, we're over 130 plus stores now, active stores, and since May 2016. And that's just a little bit about ShopaFree. Then we can just kind of dive into these store reviews. Sound good?
Sounds good to me. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to let you share your screen, so you can go through. So I'll let you know when we can see your screen and we'll be ready to go.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, we're good to go.
Okay, cool. So just told you a little bit about ShopaFree and what we do. This is our site at shopafree.me. Feel free to check it out. Also, we have a Facebook group called Shopify Free Sources that curates free resources for Shopify merchants out there. So feel free to join that as well. All right, let's just dive right into the first store. We've got intriguinghair.com. And I should say, what I'll do is just give sort of a brief overview of two main points of each of these sites. One will just be the overall design and the look and feel, and the other one will focus on information architecture, or IA. IA, or information architecture, is really important. It's basically the bones or foundation of every website. It's kind of a summary of your menu systems and your user experience. So the way things are working, as well as the information itself. So first and foremost, what I'll do is just kind of go from the top to bottom and first talk about the IA a little bit, and then we'll go into the design elements. So here we've got what I refer to as the shelf. A shelf is a menu system that basically sits on top of your primary menu on the main area here, where she has home, shop, book, about, contact. In fact, that would be considered the main menu. And this will obviously be applicable to most of these sites that we're reviewing. But up here on the shelf, we've got home, contacts, sitemap, blog, trust verification badge, and then free shipping, the contact information as well. So what a lot of people do, and this tends to be just an issue overall, is they have a lot of redundancy when they have shelf menus and main menus. And you kind of see that here with home, contact, blog, and about. Typically, sitemaps in general, that depending on how large the site is, sitemaps aren't necessarily needed. Just really depending on the site itself. This is my first look at this site, so it might be deep enough to warrant something like that. Usually you don't need that type of thing. I always point out first and foremost on all menus that home should just be removed. 99.999% of the time. You'll never ever need a home button because logos always link home. Home is sort of a vestigial link from Web 1.0 design. And you can look to content and IAA kings like Shopify itself or Apple or even Google. There's lots of great example sites out there that absolutely don't have a home. They just have their logos that link back to the homepage. So what I like to do is try to keep main menus down to anywhere from 3 to 7 primary links. But the fewer the better, because you're wanting to push individuals down specific paths. So let's just kind of dive right in there to the main menu, and then I'll jump back up to the shelf in a second, and then we'll give a brief overview of the design. So again, home, we would want to remove that. Shop, of course, is the shop itself with the catalog of products there. Now it looks like she has the opportunity to book appointments. That would be definitely a good call to action to have in the main menu. But as far as things like about and contact, again, a lot of people tend to put these menu items in the main menu system, but I find that it causes a great deal of distraction. And unless there's a very specific point being made, for example, on some stores, they give back in a philanthropic way to a related industry. Like if you're selling pet products, some people give to pet shelters, things like that. So you might want to call that out in the main menu system, but in 90% of the cases, about and contact, even blog, if you're not an avid blogger, if it's just kind of just an occasional thing that you do, most of those are going to be better served in the footer itself. Down here, I've just kind of scrolled down to illustrate the point of having secondary menus or ancillary menus in the footer system itself. A lot of people just have social media links, as she does here, and that's okay too, just keeping it simple. Really, what I would suggest, though, is cleaning up the header itself and minimizing, if not altogether removing, most of the information in the shelf that she has here, such as home, contact, and sitemap. Again, I don't know if she's an avid blogger, but if she is, then that might be useful to be putting on the main menu. But if not, I would just put that in the footer.
What's something? I have just a quick question here. So, what do you think it would be, in your opinion, the main call to action that they should kind of like highlight in the home screen?
Right. So it's always going to be products, either learning about your products or purchasing the products themselves. So what she has going on here is a very, very fast slideshow, and slideshows have proven to be not as effective as they once were thought to be. So most sites will either have one hero graphic with a singular call to action. It's okay to have some slides on occasion, depending on the situation, depending on the products. But the way she has it set up here, it seems like there's not enough time to actually absorb any of the slides itself. And you'll notice on the first and second slide, there's zero call to action. So that's super important, to have a very easy to understand singular path. You kind of want to get out of your own way when it comes to information architecture. A lot of these points that I'm making on this first site, kind of spending a lot of time on it, but they're also applicable to most of the other sites, so kind of setting the foundation for the other sites as far as information architecture, like the removal of the home button. So shop now, that call to action on the third slide, there on the fourth slide, there's only one call to action, and it's at the very end. So that's a big no-no. You want to have a huge call to action, or a very easy to understand, clear call to action without having a lot of noise in the beginning here. So I think that speaks to most of the elements in the main menu. So as a quick review, I would put about and contact in the footer, book and shop itself. I'm going to just go ahead and click through shop here for a second to see the products themselves on a really rough overview base. It looks like she has quite a few products. So yeah, 43 products. It might be fitting for her to have either subcategories of the products, or just have the main menu focus on the products themselves. So just hair extensions, accessories, things like that.
Yeah.
So, as well as booking an appointment. So that would be the main menu system and my suggestions there, as well as the shelf. Free shipping is always a good thing to call out. The 3-day returns, not really sure if that's helpful or not. The contact's always a good thing to have in customer login. Trust badges, I come down on the side of trust badges not being useful, just because of the fact that I always give the metaphor of, if I walk into a gas station and there are bars on the window, I don't feel more secure. I feel less secure. It feels odd to have to claim that the site is secured. I understand the purpose, and I understand that there's some controversy there, and people sometimes tend to disagree with that. Again, I always just point to the content kings. When you go to large companies like Apple, like Shopify, like Google, you don't see verified by GoDaddy. You don't see verified and secured by any other third-party system. And an argument for it would be that obviously smaller companies aren't as big as those companies. That makes sense, but that's not what merchants are used to seeing. They don't want to see bars on the windows, is the bottom line there. So let's talk a little bit about the design itself, and then we'll jump to the other sites. I do like the design. I think that the overall look and feel of the colors, tend to be consistent. There's purples and pinks, and the branding's not bad in terms of tying things together. There might be a little bit too much play with the multiple fonts, but other than that, I think it's a fairly well put together site as far as the look and feel goes. The one thing that I would say about the branding is maybe the logo itself could use a little more love, something that has a brand mark. And I'll go into this on the other sites as well, but you'll see up here on the tab itself, she's just using the logo, which is obviously doesn't translate to a favicon very well. For favicons, you want something that's very recognizable and very simple. Think Nike swoosh or the Shopify shopping bag, that kind of thing. And that's about it for a general overview of this site. As far as the what's below the fold here, I don't see too many issues. I think it's pretty much well presented as far as the products here, or just general categories. Let's see. Yep, subscribing to the newsletter, general overview of some of the products and the product element or product points, an overview of the video, Instagram feed. Yep, I think it's pretty straightforward, and the rest of that looks great. Do you have anything to add there, Rob?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I really like the user-generated content that they have included in the homepage. If you scroll down, you'll see that Instagram feed that you were just highlighting. I really like that. I think that's crucial nowadays to have some sort of social proof. And you were talking about the badges, kind of the security badge in it, and I feel like right now it's probably better to just have proof of your customers using your product more than a trust badge, or which, I mean, I feel like, I mean, you said it's controversial. I agree. I've seen studies that say that increased conversions. I've seen other studies that say that, you know, nothing really happens. So
Right.
again, it probably has to do with the industry, with the product, maybe with the price point. That might be also another area to look at. But I feel like, in my opinion, and again, this might be something that we'll talk about in the next stores, but I do feel like the best trust badge that you can have in your store, it's probably an Instagram feed like they do. I think it's a great idea. Or some sort of area where you showcase your customers using your product. That gives you a lot of credibility and a lot of trust, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that as far as having social proof. There's nothing more powerful than social proof. So absolutely. Okay, great. I think we can jump to the next one. Sound good?
Yep. Mhm. I feel like also most of the things that we've discussed on this one are going to be kind of recurring in the next websites as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll definitely be common threads in all of them. The more sites you review, the more sites that you build, the more common elements that you see, and common mistakes
Yeah.
that are pretty much just omnipresent in everyone's site.
Yep. Yeah.
So another sort of controversial slash thing that's up for debate in the user experience world is our pop-ups in general. So when I first go to a website, if the first experience I have is a pop-up, hey, sign up, or hey, join this, or you could win that, or whatever the case is, I instantly have a distaste for this site. And this is just a personal user experience element. It's funny, all the merchants that I talk to about this always say the same thing. They say, oh yeah, I hate pop-ups personally, but I use them on my site because they help convert. I said, okay, well that makes sense, and I get that. I don't even argue that pop-ups don't help convert. The numbers pretty unanimously agree that pop-ups help convert or help additional signups for newsletters, things like that. The question I always pose to merchants is, what kind of experience do you want to provide to your users? So first and foremost, do you just want to focus on getting more money? That makes sense. I get it. Everyone wants more money, of course. Or do you want to provide a good user experience? To me personally, pop-ups do not provide a good user experience. They're actually just the exact opposite. They're noise, even if it's just a one-time thing. So this is the first thing that we're seeing when we jump to this site. This pop-up covers up all of the other content. I should say that when you do have pop-ups, if you're going to use them, if you inject a little humor into the pop-up, like one of my favorite sites, waitbutwhy.com, he always just kind of pokes fun at himself with the pop-ups themselves. It's just a blog about just everything under the sun. But the interesting thing about his pop-up is, number one, it's not a pop-up, it's a lower third, and it kind of just comes into play randomly and occasionally. And when you dismiss it, it goes away for, well, at least the rest of the session. And that's a huge note as well. If you're going to use pop-ups, then at the very least, when they're dismissed, for the love of all that's pop-ups, don't have them ever pop up again in that session, or people will punch the screen trying to hurt you and your site. So that is my thought on pop-ups. Do you have any thoughts on that, Rob?
I mean, I agree with you in the sense that you need to be kind of different from what the rest is doing in terms of pop-ups, because I mean, even though they do work, I mean, because we're still using them, and they tend to increase conversion, especially if you're if especially if you add some sort of like promo, like get 10% off if you subscribe to your email list. Well, there's also studies there that show that if you add a little bit, just a small reward, like even if it's just like a 5 or a 10% discount, most of the people will say like, oh yeah, why not? And then there you have a point of contact with them, and then you can follow up and send more promotions, or or kind of like just add them to your email funnel. But it's true. I mean, we are bombarded by pop-ups nowadays, and every single website that we visit. It doesn't even have to be e-commerce. It can just be a blog or a news site, or whatever it is. So I feel like you said, as long as you're different and you do something cool with the pop-up, I think you can really outsmart the competition with a simple tool, and just by adding a little bit of messaging and something that makes a difference at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, definitely. If you can differentiate yourself in some way when you're using it, then that could be could be a boon. I should say too that my another yet very unpopular opinion that I have when it comes to newsletters in general is I got to a point where I was so inundated. I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but I was so inundated with newsletters in general from every single site that I'd ever signed up for anything or purchased something from. I got to a point where I was getting, I think, over 100 a day. Just absolutely ridiculous. So I had it sort of just a mental breaking point in my inbox where I thought, like, you know what? I almost never open most of these anyway. So I went through every single newsletter that I ever subscribed to, including all the big ones, and things that I had at one point found useful that I thought, oh, okay, here's something interesting, or a new deal or whatever. I literally unsubscribed to everything, and that's made my life so much less stressful. I know that sounds silly, but you gotta think
no. I mean, I did the same. I did the same thing as you. But I have two thoughts on this. So the first one is that I feel like we look at it from the marketer perspective. So anytime that we receive a cold email or kind of like a marketing email, whether it's a newsletter or promo email or whatever it is, we look at it with different eyes than other people will do, because we are very used to. I mean, we write these emails ourselves. We test them ourselves. We do research on what works best, what doesn't, what are things that you should include, what are not. So we're used to it. We're used to, I mean, the same way that you probably, when you do your Christmas shopping, I'm pretty sure that when you look at an e-commerce store, you see things that most people wouldn't see. So it's I feel like we have kind of like the marketing eye when we look at it. So that's also, but again, I did the same thing as you. I unsubscribed to most of them, and here's my second thought on it. There's several newsletters that I'm subscribed to, especially from e-commerce stores that I've never bought from, for whatever reason. Maybe because they sell products that I don't need right now, or maybe because of I don't know, they're too expensive, or whatever it is. But I'm still subscribed to those emails, and I open them every time, or most of the times that I receive them, just because I want to stay in touch with them. And it might be just simple reason, just that I like the product and I just want to stay in touch. And who knows, maybe in, I don't know, maybe like a year, they will come up with like a 50% off, and I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, this is the time I'm going to make a purchase right now. Or maybe I just want to kind of stay in touch and see what they're up to. So we kind of brings me back to what I was saying before. We are also bombarded by marketing emails. So you better make sure that yours is different, that yours provides useful information, that it's not just promotional, that has something in it. I don't know what, but it has something in it that people might want to stick around. So I'm going to ask you this question now. Is there any newsletter that you had like double thoughts about unsubscribing? And if so, why?
Never, not even one. So,
okay. All right.
I guess I'm definitely a unique a unique player in the whole consumption of newsletters area. I absolutely agree that newsletters, drip emails, campaigns, they have great conversions. Same thing, like I said, kind of going back to the pop-up thing. This is more of just sort of a personal user um, perspective. Like you said, I have a marketer's perspective, I have a web designer's perspective, and I want less noise in my life and not more. So that's the way I view
Yeah.
all of these things in particular. Um, I, yeah, yeah. I think that's basically probably the best way to put it. And it's just helped me in general and just life in general, sort of unplugging. But I do all sorts of unbelievably non, I guess, yeah, you wouldn't call them normal from a marketer's perspective. I hate Facebook. I don't engage on Twitter. I don't, I don't do lots of things that you're supposed to do as a marketer. You're
Right.
supposed to do as a web developer. You're supposed to, cultivate your relationships with your clients. I don't do any of that. So,
But still,
so
but still works for your business. So
right. So I kind of take the perspective of for our particular business model. Of course, we're building free Shopify sites.
yeah,
So when you have a free product, once you kind of reach a tipping point where the word is out there and it starts
yeah,
to get spread, like I get this question a lot too. Like, well, then how do you get any clients? How do you get any customers? Don't you take out Facebook ads? I said, no, we haven't spent one penny on Facebook ads, haven't spent one penny on Google AdWords, have not done
wow,
literally any of that whatsoever, because right now we are production constrained. We're not demand constrained.
yeah.
We get signups every day, constantly. They come from Google, they come from Shopify, they come from our Facebook group, they come from Facebook in general. They come from
So it's
just
all referrals.
right. So
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
that's
So
great.
I don't want more people signing up and having to wait in a longer line. I just want to be able to work towards, scaling the business and get the
Yeah,
line to be
yeah,
shorter.
makes sense. Makes sense.
Cool. So I know we're just kind of tangentizing on some things, but I think they're all are relevant points, even just for merchants in general. At least I hope they
Yeah,
are. So all right, let's jump into the next one, the Indie Box. Couple things right off the bat. We mentioned the Favicon and the other site here, and the Brazilian Virgin site here. And he does a really great job with the Favicon. You see how with his logo, he actually has a decent brand mark, which is a nice little sort of retro Nintendo controller, NEC controller from way back in the day, which is great. Um, I like the minimalism of the site itself. I think that a couple things. Home, of course, can be removed. All collections, as it sits entirely by itself, doesn't seem as useful. But let's click into there for a second and see, yeah, how many collections there are. So yeah, there's tons and tons and tons of collections here. This might be able to be a little revised in terms of what people are looking for. Now, I'm not sure exactly what those groups would look like, but you can see he's kind of doing that here on the homepage, which is good. View of the deal of the day, the standard editions, the collector's editions, all of that's good. The one big critique would be what you mentioned on the last site, Raul, the primary calls to action on the slider itself and whether or not the slider is even useful. So looks like each one of the slides links to that individual game, or I guess not that game. Looks like it links to.
it's like new releases.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. So that looks like new release. Okay. Let's see here. And I'm assuming, yeah, that goes to the special. So it's good that the slide links to these elements, like learning more about the product or the new releases, whatever the case is. But there's a lot of text on the slide baked into the graphic itself, without having a specific call to action, like check out our Valentine's deals or that kind of thing. Like IndieBox Valentine's Day sale, that's great. Like instead of having further text that goes into maybe the games themselves, I might have explored something like a button that either looks like a game controller or just speaks to the Valentine's Day itself, like feel
It's
the love.
like a clearer call to action. You mean like something
Right,
that tells the customer like click here and get the promo right now and get the
right,
deal.
exactly. Like
Right.
telling the client to do something specifically, like
Yep.
yeah, like press on, check. I mean, you could have a lot of different little kitschy game reference type things, or click here, or Ready Player One, or all sorts of different things that you could reference as a button in a button form that encourages the user to click there.
Something I like about this site is that you said it has a kind of minimalistic type of design. I like that, and I like that it goes straight to the point. There's really no distractions for the customer. Really, I mean, you land on the website, and there you see all the games that they have available. I feel like also the kind of the all collections button and taking you to all the products that they have. I feel like it's also kind of like as a way of telling you, hey, we are the place to be. Like if you're looking for these type of games, this is the website that you need to browse, because look at all the different options that we have. So I feel like that might be on purpose, as a way of showing the amount of products that they have available. But I agree with you. I like that. I like the minimalistic design. I like that it goes straight to the point. There's no really many distractions. There's some call to actions that could be more like visible for like this, for example. It says show me the deal. A button like that I think will probably make sense in other slides from the slideshow. But other than that, I mean, I think I like it, and also I feel like it appeals to their target audience as well.
Right, definitely. I'm definitely on board with the minimalism, definitely on board with presenting the range of games that they have here. So there's it's overall a well presented site. The branding itself, I think, ties in well. They have a nice color scheme with the grays and the limes. Everything feels pretty well put together and straightforward. The footers organized well. Right? Yeah, I think that's about it for this one. The only other thing I'd like to mention, again, it speaks to my own personal opinion of the whole FOMO, the fear of missing out app that they have down here with beekeeping. I know that this is another pretty popular one. I saw a site once where they literally had 4 pop-ups. One was a newsletter, one was a deal off, one was an encouragement to subscribe to them, and the other one was liking them on a social media platform, as well as having a chat box in the lower right-hand corner that pops up immediately, as well as having the FOMO, fear of missing out, the beacon on the left. So the first thing you see is literally, like, I think it was 5 or 6 pop-ups all at the same time. And I just thought, well, I don't even want to look at anything else. So
I think I mean, obviously all of those different pop-ups and widgets, they do serve a purpose, and I feel like they can be beneficial. Like, for example, I think the example on this one, the beacon one on this website, since it's kind of like a very static website, in my opinion, like they don't, like you said, they don't have like many pop-ups or they don't have the chat, but having that reminder down there at the bottom that, hey, there are other people buying right now, I feel like it gives you, I don't know, makes the website more alive. But it's true, like you said, if you have 10 different things kind of like screaming at your face that, click here, go there, I think it can be at the end of the day, it can be a distraction for the actual customer, and it might be a turn off if you have too many things going on and the main call to action is not to show your product or to go to the product page. I feel like that could be a problem for the site, of course.
Definitely. I would point out too that the first thing I happen to click on, and actually several of these collections now that I'm clicking through here, are all sold out, and that's kind of a frustrating element from a client's perspective. Now, it's one thing if you allow them the opportunity to purchase a product when it's sold out. So if you could, I know there are apps that do that, or you can, depending on your theme, you can basically sort of pre-purchase for items that are sold out. But the problem is, if you've got, let's see here, we've got 3, 6, 9, 12 main calls to actions of products, And I just clicked through a good chunk of them, and 7 of them were sold out. Was that it? Let's see. Yeah. So I think I know the Hollow Knight one was, and this Super Meat Boy one. Both of those products are sold out. So there's 3. The takeaway here is if you're going to have 4 or 5, if you're going to have products that are sold out, 6, and I think there was about 7 or 8 sold out products. Either remove them from the main page so you're not wasting the client's time, or allow them to back order that product.
Or like notify the customer when it's live again. I mean, when they're available again.
Right. Or that as well. Like have them
you can gather leads there
call to action. Because the problem is we go here and then boom, there's nothing for me to do, and I just clicked 3 times and I'm frustrated. So that's
I feel like some sort of call to action there to it's sold out, but here's what you can do. I feel like could be a way to also gather some potential customers for when you have the product back in stock.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so let's jump to the next one. Let's see what we've got here. Candy Experience, January box sold out. Book your February box now. So it looks like there's a subscription box service, and it's a candy subscription. Pretty straightforward. Let's see, get started. All right, let's just kind of jump in there and see what kind of user experience they have for the purchasing process here. Okay, cool. Not too bad. Yeah, we got the personal box or the original box. Different elements. Yeah, this is great look and feel for the design. I like the
very simple.
Yeah, real
customer onboarding.
Yep, really simple, really straightforward.
Yeah.
I like that you can kind of see all the flavors, or at least some of them, or maybe some of the bigger ones. Really straightforward.
Also, we go back to what we said before. Maybe can you scroll? Oh yeah. So there you have some other examples of kind of like customer feedback right away at the checkout. I think that's actually very smart, because the checkout is usually where customers bounce the most, and so by having some sort of social proof at the checkout, with feedback from customers that have tried the subscription boxes, I feel like that's pretty smart. It's like, hey, you're almost there, and this is what other customers said about the box they're about to receive. I feel like that could be. I don't really know the stats on how this kind of like sidebar with the feedback or the customer reviews work for them versus not having it. But I will. My bet will be that this actually increased conversions.
Yeah, it's nice to have. Definitely when you are having some social proof there, and happy customers always attract more happy customers. So definitely. I like the look and feel overall. The design itself well put together. This one's a pretty straightforward site. A real simple homepage. I like the simplicity of it. I like that they're using really rich imagery and expressing the flavors, or at least like the basic candies that they've got here. This is nice.
I also I guess that for some reason you didn't get a pop-up when you opened the website, but I did, and so I'm gonna read what it says. Okay. So it says, book your February box now. Enter your email below to be eligible to win a free February box. So this is another thing that I've seen a lot. It's that put your email address for the chance of getting a free product. And if people already put their email just to get a 10% or a 15% discount whenever they make a purchase, who wouldn't leave their email address if you get the chance of getting free candy? So in this case, and by free candy, it could be a free T-shirt or a free whatever product you're selling. You're getting something for free. We all love that word. So I think it's very smart because it's a way to gather gather leads in a very efficient way, and you're not given discounts constantly, which is also something that, in my opinion, I feel like if you give too many discounts to your customers constantly, like we were talking about newsletters before. I also get a lot of emails that are like 24 hours, 50% discount for the next 24 hours. And then you get like 3 more emails during, the next 24 hours telling you that, hey, you got 3 hours left, you have 1 hour left. When they're asking for the sale, in such a hard way, it makes me think that, well, I don't need to buy right now. I'm pretty sure they'll have another promotion like this in a couple weeks. But this, they're not educating their customers to expect a discount. Instead, it's we might give you something for free. You might get lucky. So leave your email address. It will take you 5 seconds, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's also worked pretty well for them. And also, again, you kind of get away from the constant discount type of approach.
Right, absolutely. I'm a huge opponent of the hard sell in general. It's just not that it doesn't work. Again, there's people that absolutely swear by and love FOMO, the fear of missing out, or doing flash sales, or having drip emails that email 2 or 3 times a day, especially in great purchasing seasons like Christmas or Black Friday, that kind of thing. And I hate all of it. I hate all of it. I really do. Just as a merchant and as a marketer, I guess. Like I refuse to participate in any Black Friday thing. So
I feel like it. No, again, I feel like it just tells you that. I always give the equivalent of the artist that's saying like, hey, there's only a few tickets left for my concert, buy them here. Well, if you need to announce that there's only a few tickets left,
right.
It probably means that there's a lot of them left. Right. It probably means that you're not going to sell out. So I feel like that's also something that could be applied to e-commerce as well. Not only in e-commerce, I've seen it with software as a service. I mean, pretty much any internet company right now have done that in the past. I feel like I think it's good to give discounts, especially for example, if you're selling a recurring product, you saw a discount on the first month or on the first package or whatever it is, to kind of nudge that first purchase, and then you make sure that your customer's going to love your product, and then they'll subscribe to it. But again, if you're constantly offering it, I think it gives the wrong image to, oh, there you go, you got the pop-up there.
Yeah, definitely. I was just wondering if they had the pop-up timed, or if what their particular trigger was. So I refreshed the page just to see, and yeah, this is an example of a pop-up that I don't necessarily mind for a couple different reasons. So number one, it's not the first thing I see, and it's activated. It looks like it's activated multiple times, but it's only activated after a certain amount of time, or maybe a certain amount of inactivity. So either way, that's a much better way to present your pop-up. And speak to your point earlier, Raul, the simplicity of this and the fact that you're attaching something for your email, that's great, as opposed to just, hey, give me your email. Well, I don't want to give anyone else my email because too many people had it, and I literally I've changed email a bunch of times because I've basically killed inboxes, and just it almost gets to a point where you abandon your inbox, where you just feel like, yeah, I don't want to deal with my personal email right now because there's thousands of emails of garbage that I got to sift through, and that's why I ended up unsubscribing from everything. But yeah, this is a well put together pop-up, and it's real simple, real straight to the point, and it's actually offering value.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so yeah, let's move to the next one. We're 45 minutes into the webinar. But again, I feel like most of the things that we have discussed now during this past 3 stores are going to be recurring on the following ones. Right.
Yeah, I think we can get through things a little bit faster. Just a quick final point on the information architecture. I like that they have the pass boxes and earn rewards, how it works, and even give as a gift. The fact might not necessarily be needed, but yeah, this is a more product-centric, product focus. You notice there's no contact or about us or our story or that kind of stuff that's superfluous information. That's all down here in the footer. So they did a great job. Okay, moving on to the next one. We've got summerlane.com.au. So at first glance, I'm thinking that yeah, it looks like it's a site that's kind of being more of a little bit more of a general store. At first, I thought it was just for kids and babies' clothing or accessories, maybe even toys. But I see there's a women's section and a homeware section, and then multiple brands. So it's kind of like a mom and kid site from what I'm seeing. Um, Now, this is just a first reaction, but I noticed that a lot of people will attempt to, especially dropship stores, attempt to focus a lot on multiple sectors. So they'll want to appeal to women, men, kids, just everyone across the board and have multiple different products. I don't think this one's going necessarily too far, but it could be on further, further study of the individual products themselves. Looks like they're focusing on kids though on the main homepage for the most part. Let's see, which isn't bad. But then we're getting into jewelry in the women's area, and now we're good 2-3 pages in. They've have quite a few products on the homepage there. Let's see. There's quite a bit of text. To me, it feels like there's a little bit too much going on in general. Overall, whether that's just too many products in general or the way they're being presented. I'd have to dig a little bit deeper into what their primary focus is, but it seems like they might not really have a specific niche. So this speaks to an overarching point for pretty much all merchants as well. So many people think that it's better to have more products than it is to just have a half dozen or a dozen products, and that's really not the case. There's a great study called I think it's basically referred to online as the Jam study, where there were two stores. One had 6 choices of different flavors of jam, and the other one had I think 24 or 30. And the initial thought is that the one with the more choices would make more sales, but it doesn't, because the paradox of choice is such that if there's more choices, it requires more thought to actually make a decision, and that process inspires a sense of anxiety in the user. So because there was only 6 choices, the store with the 6 choices sold far more, like significantly more. I think in a lot of cases, and with sites like this where there's many types of clients they're trying to appeal to with different types of products, because homeware itself is an entire segment. Women's clothing or even women's accessories, women's shoes is an entire niche focus. So they're trying to do a little bit of everything. What I always point out with stores like this is that Amazon already does a little bit of everything, and they're already highly trusted, and they provide 100% free shipping. And the biggest issue is almost everyone has an account on Amazon already. So even if they find a product, a lot like walking into a Borders bookstore or Barnes and Noble, even if they find a book they like or something they like on your store, a lot of people's first instinct is to go to Amazon and just check and see if they can buy it for cheaper there, or buy it for get free shipping, or whatever the case is. So that's my overall thought on here. There's not really a lot of branding going on. There's just it's not that the logo's bad. It's not that the branding's necessarily bad. It's just that there's not a lot of consistency, I'd say. With that, like when you look down here to these slides, the testimonial slides, they seem a little overwhelming. I think that's about all I would say on this one. Raul, do you have anything to add?
So I feel like it's clear the type of customers they're going after. It's more like the parents who are looking to buy stuff for their kids, but then it's kind of like, oh, well, I might as well just buy this something for something else for myself. You're browsing products that you're initially buying for your kid, but then you come across something that might be interesting to you, and since you're already buying stuff from the store, and you're gonna pay for shipping anyway, you might as well add something extra. So I feel like that might be maybe the reason why they're going after both kids and parents, to kind of like have everything under the same website. I agree with you about having too many products and the threat that Amazon is to smaller e-commerce stores right now. I feel like a little bit of more branding, like you said, could be interesting. Maybe when you scroll down, you see like different sections, and yeah, I feel like the testimonial page could be maybe a little bit smaller. But also, I would like to hear more about the brand itself. Like why it's the brand different from any other toy
Right.
brand, and what who are the people behind, and why did it start, why
What's their
yeah, like
unique
just to
unique
know
selling
background story.
Right. Yeah. What's their unique selling proposition? What makes them
Yeah,
different?
exactly. And it could be something as simple as just like, I've seen this a lot actually, especially in the toy industry. You kind of want to know who's behind the company that's selling toys, and kind of like products that your kids are going to use. So, and something that I've seen a lot, it's just maybe a picture of the founders and kind of like a small text as you scroll down, a small piece of text explaining who you are and why you started the company. That usually helps you to kind of like see who's behind the company. I agree. Also, obviously, the testimonials, even though again the format could be maybe a little bit smaller, because at least on my screen takes I think too much of the screen. But they're helpful in my opinion, because especially because they have the picture of the kids who ended up using the products. I think that's very useful as well, because we've been talking about social proof and kind of like giving that sense of security. This it's something that really helps, and I'm sure that a lot of customers spend their time reading the reviews and reading the testimonials from existing customers. Again, so I think I would just point out again, I don't think having a lot of products on your site, it's a bad thing necessarily, but probably my main feedback, which is something that you mentioned, it's maybe talking a little bit more about the brand itself and why are you different from your competition. That will be something that I think it's an easy fix. But yeah, and it could really help increase conversions.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I'd also add that there's no real call to action on the main hero graphic here, and uh, it doesn't make too much sense to me as far as the clarity of it. What is Bobucks? Bobucks sale? Maybe that's a brand. Maybe it's a brand they make or a brand they carry. I don't really know what it is. Um, yeah, I definitely need a call to action or something here on the hero graphic as well.
Okay, sounds good to me. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And a quick note on the favicon. She's got it boxed in up here. It's probably just kind of thrown in as a last element, but it's always something to pay attention to. Is your favicon? It's just sort of ties into your branding, ties into how professional your site is, how clear things are, and I think that's about it for this one.
Sounds good. Yeah, same here.
Okay, cool. So next we have airbrushmakeup.com. Couple things just jump right out at me really quickly. First off is that it's not secure, and this is a red flag in a lot of people's minds. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not secure. It just means that Chrome doesn't have an SSL certificate, and that's an issue. So that can definitely be a red flag for merchants in general. Some people will see that and say, "Hey, I'm not even going to go any further. I just don't. I don't want to buy from someone who is not secure." So
Something. Oh, I was just gonna say, what would you recommend to this owner to do about the not secure? Because I obviously I think that getting an S and HTTPS will help. So who do they need to contact? What do they need to do to get that to get that up and running?
Right. So first and foremost, with Shopify, it's already built in. I'm assuming this is probably a WordPress site.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah. So with WordPress, what I do is just Google free SSL certificate, and you'll come up with a couple different solutions there. You can purchase them directly from different providers like Network Solutions, but there are free options for SSLs that will take care of your site when you're on WordPress or when you're on a platform that doesn't have it built in. That is one of the really great things about Shopify, though. They just have free SSL built in that you don't even have to think about. It just is secure from the get-go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's good to know also what are the options, what are the things they can do to get that fixed.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you can purchase them, but I just recommend Googling free SSL. I don't know offhand. I know that there's a couple there's a couple places out there where you can obtain free SSLs. So let's dive in. The information architecture. Well, first and foremost, we've got the pop-up going on. We've talked about that, so I won't belabor that point. The information architecture is actually really well put together here. They're focused on products, color match, makeup, kits, help to guide you through the usage of the products. Now, help in tutorials, that's kind of up in the air, that they kind of could potentially be put together, depending on what they're presenting in those sections. The why, I don't really know what why is, other than, here's probably why our products are better. That's not necessarily a bad thing to have. I like that as well. Specials, just basically that's what's on sale. Now Dinero Pro, I don't really know that offhand, just from someone who's not shopping for these types of products. So I don't think the information architecture is too bad, other than the fact that I'd probably merge tutorials and help for one, and then maybe diving into a little bit more of what Dinero Pro is, or linking that into one of the subsections of makeup, or wherever Dinero Pro would logically be placed. Now, from a design perspective, I feel like there's one major overarching thing on the whole site that I have an issue with. There's not enough negative space. You'll notice there between the logos and the borders of these sections, between the text. Same thing with between the elements in the shelf. Same thing with just even elements that are on the sliders themselves. There's not a lot of breathing room in general. So I would suggest, just kind of giving a little bit of space to breathe, basically. Now, they do have shop kits. They do have the calls to action on the different slides, so that's definitely a plus. I think that's probably a good overview here. Again, to Raul's point on one of the other sites, I like the social proof of having the Instagram down here as well for different clients. So that's great. Anything to add there, Raul?
Well, they're also featuring media. I can see that at the bottom of the page as well. And also, I feel like it's very well put together, because they don't usually, you see those logos and really big sizes, and they kind of like taking a lot of the like a big space in the in the homepage. I feel like in this case they just kind of like mention it there, like, oh, by the way, we were featured in Vogue and Glamour and all these obviously specialized magazines. So I think that's a great thing, and I think it's great that they don't broadcast it too much. It's at the bottom. If the customer already made it that far, that's just going to be like one more reason for them to stick around. And I like that when talking about social proof, they rely more on their customers using their products more than that they got featured in all those magazines. So I think it's great. I mean, I think I like it. It's true. I agree with you that I'm kind of missing separation between the sections as you scroll down. But again, that's also an easy fix. But yeah, other than that, I think it's very well built, and the customers know exactly what they're looking for, and they can find it probably right away, because also from what I can see, they have like the different sections pretty well defined, and you mentioned that as well. So yeah, it's also interesting that they have the hashtag for Instagram. So if I'm interested in knowing more about it, instead of going on their website, I can just go on this Instagram on this hashtag on Instagram and see what other people are saying, or what the people are posting on Instagram about it. So yeah, no, I think it's pretty good.
Okay, cool. One other design element that I'd point out that I'm seeing a lot in all of the sites is a lack of usage of SVG, scalable vector graphics, as opposed to bitmap images for logos. So anytime you see logos, especially with media logos, things like this whole bar down here, instead of having the graphics be bitmaps, so whether they're PNGs or JPEGs or anything along those lines, you definitely want to. It looks like, yeah, this whole thing's just one big transparent PNG, and I get using that, but you'd ideally want this to be an SVG, so it looks more crisp and clear. And same kind of thing goes for the favicons. Now, you can't use SVGs in favicons, but what you can do is double the pixel count on your favicons. So if you're aiming to have like 64, I believe it's 64-bit or 64 pixels, something along those lines, will accommodate a Retina screen for basically, you take whatever the pixel dimensions are. So if it's 12 by 12 or 24 by 24, whatever it is, and double it, and that will accommodate your Retina resolution. So instead of having this pixelation bit, you probably won't be able to see this on the webinar, but yeah, it's definitely important to keep that in mind for those that pay attention to detail.
And one last thing that I would like to mention, it's the so if you scroll back to the button, sorry, to the top of the page, actually, in the kind of like the header type of well, actually no, I think it's a slideshow, right? I don't see it moving, but I believe it's a slideshow.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's moving. Okay, so what do you think about having a slideshow and having text in the image instead of having the text as a separate element from the picture? Because when you have it separate, Google can read it. So if you happen to have a keyword in that text that you want your website to rank for, if you have it kind of like built in the image, Google won't be able to read that, and so you might be missing out on positioning. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. No, that's a great point. SEO is completely entirely lost when you embed text in images, especially in the header graphics. Usually in the headers, you'll have callouts that will be in like the H1 tag or H2 tags, and these are all important elements for SEO in general. So definitely, they're missing out a lot on that opportunity there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's something that we've kind of overlooked in the ones that we've discussed before, but I've seen it before in this session. So I think it's something that obviously, if this is something that you have on your online store, for those of you who are listening, I always recommend to have it separate, especially if you happen to have a keyword there on that text that you want to rank for. If you don't have it as a separate element, Google won't be able to read it. Okay, so I think we have about 6 stores to go, and we have just a few more minutes. So I think we should dive into the rest of the stores that we're going to review today.
Okay, great. Yep, let's just try to get through as many as we can then. Little Badgers. I really like this product itself. I think it's kind of cool. Just the idea of it is cool. Looks like almost like Cub Scout collection of badges for kids in general.
Yep.
The site's playful. It's got great branding, a good logo. The only thing I'd say is that there's no favicon to sort of tie into that. They have the opportunity, a really great opportunity to have a badge be their icon itself. It could even take up the negative space in the A or in the D, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea actually.
Yeah, I really like the look and feel. The design itself is good. The theme they're using, Sunrise. I'm not a huge fan of Sunrise just in general because of the way they segment the main menu and a side menu, and it sort of just pulls focus. And people tend to have just issues when it comes to having two primary menu systems. They're presented in a similar fashion as far as weight and thickness of font, that kind of thing. The biggest issue, though, is that Sunrise, or really any site that has multiple menu systems like this, are geared towards incredibly large catalogs. That's why we see this type of thing on Amazon. That's why we see the type of thing like within Google when you dive into the app selections. There's both top menus and left menus and kind of other ancillary buried systems. Now that said, you could use this to your advantage. To me, personally, with this particular site, I would just either entirely hide the top menu because they're not primary focus. They're your terms and policies. Essentially, those just need to be in the footer, and that's that. Remove the home page, of course, we've talked about that, as well as about, FAQ, and contact could be in the footer. And other than that, I'd say like badges, member t-shirts, user guides. That's great. I would focus on that, whether you're going to use the left menu or have them just focus on the top menu. But I would kill one of the menus for this particular site.
Yep, sounds good to me. I don't have anything to add that you haven't said already. So yeah, it looks good to me actually. Pretty clean, pretty. I like the kind of like the kids type of design, type of feel. I guess at the end of the day, when parents buy this for the kids, their kids will be looking at it. So the website has to be appealing for them as well. So I think it's I think it's a pretty smart approach. Very well designed. Yep.
Cool. Okay, let's jump to the next one. We got Lele Bomb. Lele Bomb. I don't know how to say that. How do you say that, Ro?
I think it's handmade in Colombia. So I guess they are making their products in Colombia.
Looks like I'm not sure if the webinar's sort of skipping a little bit, but can you hear me okay still? Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're just skipping a little bit for some reason there.
Oh, okay. Okay, now I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. All right, so real quickly, same kind of thing, the information architecture we talked quite a bit about. They've got a nice shelf with the social media calls up here. Remove home, never need home. The breakdowns of the social mission and our story, that feels like it kind of can go together, possibly. I'd have to dive into the content a bit more to see. They may or may not be an avid blogger. If they are, then great, leave that there, but put contact in the footer as well. So yeah, empowering women artisans, handmade and heartfelt, one-to-one. So it looks like, just from the logo itself, Lelebom, Fresca, Eco Jewelry. Yeah, the only thing I would say is there's a lot of cool imagery for the first of all, I can't navigate back and forth in the slides, so I can't discuss them without waiting for them. That's frustrating. Again, if you're going to use slides, at least allow navigations, even if the navigation is just on rollover. Each one of these slides is focused on sort of a destination as opposed to the products themselves. And the call to action is welcome. I don't know what that means. So if I click on it, I'm Okay, we've got our story. That's great. But if the focus is on the product and the jewelry itself, I would kind of like to see a little bit more of that. I do like the fact that they have a social mission driving the products themselves, and they're focused on that. That's a good thing. Um, yeah, that's and they're kind of expressing that down here as well with some branding elements. Now, the iconography doesn't necessarily tie into the brand itself. Um, and here's a good example of being frustrated that there's two pop-ups actually that are occurring at the same time. So if you're going to use pop-ups, just use one. So there was one, and here's another, and they popped up at the same time. That's absolutely awful. And yeah, you definitely got to get rid of at least one. Um, yeah, and there's more social proof here for the testimonials that we talked about on the other sites, and some descriptions of the company itself and what they donate. That's great. And then just breakdowns of some of the products. I'd almost like to see the products come a little bit sooner, maybe even just under the slider or in place of some of the slides. But that's about it for this one. What do you think, Rob?
Well, they're doing two things that we were mentioning before that we thought that some of them were lacking, which is the first one on this one is that they maybe you can highlight the text, but I believe that I'm trying to do it here myself. Oh no, okay. So I thought that the text in the picture, but it is kind of looked like it was a separate element. So well, yeah, maybe it will be interesting to have, especially the one that says handmade in Colombia. I think it will be interesting to have it as a separate element so Google can read it and you can rank for handmade Colombian products, for example, in case that people are browsing for that. By the way, can you still hear me well?
Yep, I can still hear you good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that was the first. I think it will be a good idea to be able to rank for those. If you have it on the slideshow, that will be interesting to have it as a separate element from the picture. And then I like that they are using kind of like their story and their mission as a way of expressing who they are and who's behind the company. The fact that they donate part of their profits is also it's also a good idea. I agree with you that the product should come up a little sooner. I feel like the slideshow, it's not really necessary to have such a big slideshow, especially when you're not featuring all the products in some of the images. It's, by the way, it seems that I feel like every single store that we have reviewed today had a show. So that's interesting. But yeah, I just wish that I could see the products kind of sooner as I scroll down. Yeah, other than that, maybe yeah, the call to action there the sunglasses or C models or something like that instead of just welcome. But yeah, I think those are things that could be easily fixed in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things that they can definitely quickly fix. I think you make good points on all those statements as well as the slideshows. It's a great point that, yeah, pretty much all the sites we reviewed are using slideshows. I think that's kind of an element of everyone thinking that they should use slideshows. And I have to say that that's in part due to the web systems that all the CMS systems that are out there, not just Shopify, but whether it's Wix or Weebly or WooCommerce or whatever the case is, when there are sections or building blocks in your content management system that gear you towards the direction of doing something, you feel like you need to fill out those elements. You feel like you need to use them, and that's not always the case. So yeah, it can be a little bit of being guided in the wrong direction from the tools themselves sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like this website was built obviously based on a template. So maybe the template came already with why bother on removing it? I mean, it looks good. I mean, visually it looks good. It's true that well, it might not be like you could fill that space with something else and something that kind of drives a purchase more quickly. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like it's just a way of, well, just following what's in front of you, and if there's a space for a slideshow, it might be for a reason. So who am I to question it? I might as well just fill it.
Right, right, exactly. Okay, let's jump to the next site and let's see what we got here. So first off, I get the push notifications. And again, I fall on the same side of this that I do with pop-ups and FOMO and newsletters, is I just never allow them ever in 100 million years. That's not necessarily the case for everybody, but it's definitely the case for me. Now, right off the bat, we're lacking any kind of branding or look and feel in terms of just there's no logo. It's just the name itself. I actually kind of like the name. The Snoozing Owl sounds kind of cool. The store with your sleep and comfort in mind. So I'm assuming it revolves around sleepwear and sleep. Yeah, I would say probably sleepwear, bed sheets, that kind of thing, pillows. Yeah. So it looks like they're roll with the defaults of the debut theme. Debut isn't a bad theme. It's just you need to do something with it, and it don't feel like they're doing too much with it here. I do like the simplicity of what they have. That's good, but they're definitely not speaking to the brand itself, and looks like they might be still under construction here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
And anytime you have elements like that, obviously just remove them until you're ready to populate them. Otherwise, it's just noise, and you're just throwing in noise, and there's no reason for it.
Yeah, I would also add something. Again, this might be. I don't want to judge it too early because it might be still under construction, and that might be the reason why we're seeing things that might not make sense at the very beginning. But you kind of have to scroll down a lot to get the first products in front of you, which is or the feature collection, which is or the blankets. You have to scroll through the main header, then like some information about life with comfort, then a slideshow, and then subscribe to the newsletter, then testimonials, and then you get to see the product. So again, I think they should show the products earlier on, maybe leave the testimonials for after you've seen the products. And then, again, it looks like it's under construction. Also, something that I see at the bottom is that they have like feature blog posts, but there's only 2. So kind of going back to what you said before, unless you have content marketing as one of the key areas of your marketing strategy, I would not feature it that much, because when you land in a blog, you kind of want to see a lot of content, even if you're not going to read it all, but you want to make sure that there's a lot of content about it. But yeah, what do you think?
Oh, you beeped out. I'm not sure. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you were able to hear what I said about kind of like the different sections of the site.
I heard up to the blog point, and then just relating back to if you don't have enough content, then just remove it. But I don't think I heard it after that.
Okay, yeah, no. So what I was saying about the blog itself is that, again, and this might be because they're under construction, but going back to what you said before, unless content marketing is one of the key areas of your marketing strategy, I would not feature it or highlight it as much on your homepage if you don't have that much content available.
Definitely. And there's no call to action here on the main hero graphic up at the top. There's quite a bit of information for this first blurb. This is more or less an about us section, as opposed to getting the client to, or getting the potential customer to either view the products, ride the products, or learn about them. This is more of a, hey, look at me, here's my story, which is fine, but it shouldn't be the first thing we see.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Okay, and let's jump to the next one. Again, that site didn't have a favicon, and neither does this one, I guess. That just speaks to some branding elements that you should be thinking about. So, yep, we've got the whole get a coupon for registering, sign up thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, let's see here. And I should point out too that there are a lot of other options for pop-ups that don't contain the powered by Privy, uh, basically the free version of Privy, which is fine. The problem with it though is it basically tells your clients that you're using a system or a product that's free, and to me it leaves sort of uh, a less professional look about the site itself in general. Especially when there's all sorts of different options that you can do, even just building in your own pop-up into the theme itself, as opposed to paying for an app or using an app. I should say a lot of people in Shopify specifically go overboard with apps they cause a lot of issues in terms of uh, the code that's injected into the themes, or at least potentially can. And the more apps you add, it's like a big Jenga game. The more apps you add, the more likely it is your site's going to tumble over. So I always err on the side of don't add an app until you absolutely need the functionality that it provides. And then, even then, if you can add the functionality without an app, I'd probably pursue that first. Okay,
Yep.
so that said, let's take a look. Pretty straightforward. First and foremost, the thing that jumps out at me is they have way too many items in the main menu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, we want to keep that to no more than 7, but ideally less than that even. So first off, remove home. That can just definitely go away. You've got a lot of things here that are kind of overlapping, I think. Blog may or may not be useful. Doesn't look like it is. Again, a lot of these sites might just be sort of in construction. So on the main hero graphic, though, I definitely have a call to action of some sort, a button leading you down into your products. Let's see. Yeah, we've got the Instagram hashtag, but no real. I mean, I'm assuming maybe this is the Instagram feed. Yeah, it looks like it's probably still working on. Yeah, it looks like probably still working on the site itself. Uh, yeah, it's pretty sparse. Needs a lot of love on the design side. The logo is just sort of not necessarily a logo, but more or less just stylized text. That's not necessarily bad, but we'd like to see something that's a brand mark of some kind. And yeah, I think things like uh, maybe bodysuits, jumpsuits, and rompers can be collected into one section. Um, let's see. Yeah, there's just a lot of things going on here. So you really want to give some love to the main menu itself. That's probably the biggest issue that I see. Bro, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel like there might still be under construction, and kind of like the first reaction I get is that when I scroll down, I only see a handful of products, but at the top they have a lot of different categories of products. So at the top it's kind of overwhelming because I feel like there's a lot to browse. But then when I scroll down, I only see I don't see that much. There's only actually just 10 products. What it says, oh, that might be just dresses. Yeah, I feel like maybe you can summarize some of those into like bigger categories. Yeah, that will be my main, and also, yeah, a little bit more about the branding. I think it's something that you just mentioned. I think it's good that they mentioned that there's free shipping on all orders. So that's good. And yeah, I mean, they should, yeah, now that you're browsing through the different categories, I feel like they should definitely kind of like add some of them, put them together, especially some of them that only have like 3 or 4 items.
Right.
Talking about the blog again, yeah, it seems like they only have one article. So yeah, maybe I would not publish it right now until you have more, or maybe just put it at the footer.
And another
Um,
thing to jump in real quick,
yeah, yeah,
mentioned earlier on the whole sold out thing. If you've got a collection, especially a main menu item that has no products in it, just remove it. Remove it until you have products in that.
yeah, exactly.
And it looks like she's got three. I think it was, yeah, pre-order, bottoms, and I thought there was one other one. But yeah, definitely remove any collections that don't have products in them.
And also, I would try to make sure that the product pictures are more consistent with each other. Because, for example, in the example that you have right now here, matching sets,
Right.
the first two kind of look similar, but then the third has kind of like a different set. It's not a white background. I don't know if this is a drop shipping business. I don't know if they produce it themselves, but product pictures. I mean, the product picture is the equivalent of, physically touching the product and at a physical store. Pictures are pretty much everything customers have to make sure that they like what they see and that they want to buy it. So maybe you want to add also some more pictures in the product pages, and also, yeah, some more consistency in the style. So if you have all of them on a model in front of a white background, then make sure that all of them have models wearing them in front of a white background. Yeah, looks like the rest are, that might be the only example, but I think it's always look to pay attention to those small details, in my opinion.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, same thing with the favicon. There's nothing to look to up here, but that
Yep.
speaks to not having a logo or real brand mark to work with. So I think that's it for this one.
Yeah,
Okay, let's jump to, we got two more to go.
we got two more. Yeah.
Right, so crafty picks, unique and personal gifts. Same kind of thing here. Let's see what we got. So right off the bat, just remove home. Contact about us and blog. I would wow, here's a real, this is a real big no-no. You've got 3 redundant levels of navigation on blog, but really it's just one thing. So that should just link to the blog itself, as opposed to having a drop down and then a drop down inside that. It might still be under construction though. Let's see. I kind of like the background images, the ceramic picture tiles, homemade gift ideas. I don't think that having 2 slides is too bad here.
Call to action is clear. I think you mentioned that, but yeah, shop now.
Yep,
They're taking you to the product page. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Call to action's clear there. Now, I don't know what type of unique and personal gifts there are, so let's just go into product collections and see what types of things you have. It seems to me that there's, let's see, there's a decent amount of breakdowns as far as the types of products. I might like to see the main menu focus on that, like moving blog about us and contacts in the footer, removing home, and then focusing on these different types of custom products. So whether it's photo products or whatever, custom clocks, or one could itself just be apparel. You could have apparel and then accessories, or apparel and jewelry, or whatever the case is. And then one that would deal with just like homeware or decor, you could call it. And it looks like wall decal stickers and maybe the spirit animals would fall under that category, like whether it's decor or home decor or something along those lines. So basically just find a way for the main navigation to be product centric as opposed to just general informational, and then they should be in a better position. I think that the logo's not bad. It's kind of general, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The Favicon's good with the exception of having the white square around it, so just make sure that it's a PNG and you're using transparency so it just focuses on the ball itself. And I would say that's a pretty good breakdown of what we have here. Raul, anything to add?
No, nothing you haven't mentioned. Yeah, we can probably move into the last one.
Okay, perfect. So the last one we've got is another one with the push notifications, which I never allow. The design overall is, I don't feel like there's necessarily much design going on. There's not a lot of focus or love given to the design itself, specifically the like the font differences. There's no real color scheme. We've got blue in the shelf. We've got green on the fonts here, black for the header text, red for the sale callouts. By the way, when everything's on sale, nothing's on sale. So if that's what you're seeing typically,
That's a good point.
yeah, like if you're primarily seeing everything on sale, just don't do that at all. There's no point in having the sale pricing. To Raul's earlier point, let's make the photos a little more uniform for the product, especially as they sit in the collections. And yeah, the footers, obviously not finished. This seems like more of a work in progress in general. I mean, the green text of the products and the green text and the teal text in the footer is different than the blue of the header. It's all, there's no real design. And yeah, this one probably needs a lot of love. The breakdowns kind of hard to read with the transparent background, or the drop downs hard to read. Drop downs aren't necessarily bad here. It's just like specifically on this slide, I can't read them at all. Speaks to the slide, things that we mentioned before. There's no call to action. These are generic photos, essentially the ones. It's a great photo, but it's a photo provided by Burst, which is Shopify's stock photography elements. Now, those aren't necessarily bad to use, but let's do something with them. Download them, change them, maybe, mask her out and isolate the background and make it a sepia tone background, or just make the almost like a color overlay where she's not, and then there you can place your text. And definitely, don't bake the text into the image. There's no call to actions on any of these. They're just compelling imagery that was shot for Burst, and looks like they just kind of pulled those photos directly out of Shopify. I see this a lot, by the way, and we're going to see this in general, this homogenizing of all Shopify sites, because they're giving us the same tools, the same images now, the same text, and if you don't put effort into differentiating your site, they're just going to look the same, and that's not a good thing.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a work in progress, like you mentioned earlier. Right. It's true that they should definitely, because I mean, I think the idea of their branding, it's there. I can see it on the pictures that they've chosen for their site. I can even see it on the background image that they've used. Kind of like the products that they're selling. I feel like I know what they have in mind, but they should definitely try to get someone that has experience designing e-commerce stores and help them turn this into a store that can start getting sales, because I believe that there's, again, the branding's there, the colors that they want to use, kind of like the image and everything, but yeah, they should use some more design work, I believe. Yep,
definitely. Yeah, I think that's about it. Anything else to add there, Raul, on overall?
No, well, I mean, overall, I would say that, it's, I'm surprised by the consistency of the slideshows. We've seen them very often, both on, I was surprised because we've seen it on both stores that seem to be just either under construction or like kind of like new brands, upcoming brands, but also kind of like more mature companies. They all seem to agree on the slideshow. I don't particularly dislike them, but I feel like everything on your site, you have to be careful with the space and how you use it. And so make sure that if you have a slideshow, make sure that you have a clear call to action. Make sure that you show your products right away. Make sure that your value proposition is clear from within the first 3 seconds after landing on your site. So that will be my main summary of what we have seen today. So what I want to do right now is to thank you all for watching this. I think it was a very interesting experience, and Michael, I want to appreciate that you took your time to share your knowledge with us today. It was great having you here. I don't know if there's anything that you want to say, kind of to summarize and to wrap up with the webinar.
You're very welcome, Raul. Thank you very much for having me. No, I think that you did a great job summarizing everything. Yeah, just in general, I think simpler is better, niche down.
Yep.
You're going to hear these same things in all the Facebook forums and all of the everyone that you talk to. Find a focus for your store, and the more specific, the better. More products does not mean more sales, and
Yep.
Yeah, and just kind of make sure you have some type of brand, some type of look and feel, something something for people to kind of grapple onto when they're viewing the site.
Great. All right. Well, once again, thank you so much for attending. I hope you all learn, and I hope that even if your store wasn't reviewed today, I'm sure that you have identified things that you've seen on your own store. So I'm sure you'll be able to start improving your store. So I think thanks to everyone that submitted their e-commerce stores. And thank you all for attending again. Mike, thank you so much, and see you all next time.
Thanks a lot. Take care.